Hello, and thanks for tuning in. In the last video, you may have noticed I was standing these 6x6 posts on the midsection beam, supported by the lower 6x6 post, and we did our best to capture that process. We employed this come-along system with the strapped come-alongs, and it's worked really well. And in this video you're going to see me monkey around and bumble around a bit, intuitively feeling my way around up high and figuring out just how I'm going to approach doing all this rigging. Now, I decided to just let this video play out at its normal speed, just to give the viewers a sense of how slow this actually is and the reality of danger that's involved in what I'm undertaking here. Now, granted, those of you who have been framing or have been in construction for some time, a 5.5-inch platform of a 6x12 beam below your feet is very often a lot of comfort and all the comfort you need to get any work done. But as you can see here, I'm very slow and deliberate in my movements. I am being ultra cautious here as I balance my lanky body and long lumber so that I will be able to continue the project without any injuries. Some of you may say, well, why aren't you wearing a harness? And you know, that's a good question. But I've never been one to take safety too seriously. And I can get away with this on my own job, and certainly I can get away with this in most cases as a sole proprietor, general contractor, but not so much if I'm going to be working for someone, especially in most states. I'm going to be looking at a fine for crawling around like this, and very often for good reason. But so much of the time, doing this sort of work is a physical workout. It is a challenge physically and mentally. It's about problem solving and, risk management. Yeah, did I mention risk and physicality? When you're doing stuff by yourself on a limited budget and you are basically rigging and jigging up a buddy or a helper, you don't waste time with things that are inefficient, and any time you can put your back into it, that's exactly what you do, because very often it saves time, and time saves money. this point in the project, I began to go deeper and deeper into almost a trance-like state. It's a cathartic place where each challenge becomes enjoyable, and the problem-solving obstacles that you come up against just become another conversation, whether it's just running out of slack on a strap or having to get down the ladder again, or to things that are a little more sketchy, such as making sure a beam doesn't fall or the rigging doesn't break. But as you move into it, you realize it's not something you're going to back out of. I've committed to this process, and whether it's hot or we get a little rain or it's cold, it's got to get done, and I got to get this dried in before the winter comes. So for any of you that are wondering what's going on here, you are witnessing the hoisting of the uppermost beams that will make the structural apex of our roof system. When these beams are lifted into place over the 6x6 posts, they will make up what is known as the ridge beam. Now this becomes a structural post and beam style of roof system. And without going into too much detail, this allows the top of the rafter to be connected to a continuous, or in this case, a composite beam system at both the top and the bottom, and also connected to the vertical posts, which then, once nailed off, create an entire structural, pretty bulletproof diaphragm, both in the wall system and in the roof system, as you'll come to see more of in the next video. We are effectively employing the same system for the upper beams, and in a moment here you'll see we're using a similar system to hoist the rafters at a completely different angle, as we did on the lower girders. The only difference is really we have to sometimes precariously balance ourselves and material up on the second story, and that's the only real challenge. Otherwise, we've at this point pretty much perfected our
I'm above the post
hoisting system. All apologies if staring at the screen and watching another shot of these beams up in the air and me crawling around on a ladder are boring you. But I wanted to take advantage of this moment and hopefully illustrate the amount of work that goes into doing a project like this by hand and not using heavy equipment. one of the rafters being pulled up and into position, and the video makes it look easy. This part of the build was by far the hardest. The tension on the strap definitely made me think twice, and the angle in which the top of that rafter point is threatening to cut the strap was palpable. It was a very real worry. And so by the time I was done with all these rafters, I felt like a pro, but of course each rafter had its own challenges. So I'm not talking much about the math here, but this pitch is a 17 and 12 roof pitch, which is obviously very steep. And in another video, we'll talk about breaking down angles and cutting rafters. This was kind of a fun shot. It was beginning to get dark, and I was ready to get these last two rafters installed. This evening, we managed to get one installed, and with the help of my neighbor Jake again, he came over and gave me a hand, and we got that one up. And the next morning, Rowan and I finished the last one. Here you'll see me rigging up a lateral strap to help pull the bottom end of that rafter toward the center of the cabin, or that lower beam, if you will. And when this happens, it changes the angle just a tad at the top and allows that bird's mouth to seat on the ridge beam up above that you can't really see in this video. One of the many things I love about my oldest son, Rowan, is that he is a perfectionist, and although you can't tell so much in this video, he was a bit flummoxed and irritated and, downright agitated about a miscut he made here on this rafter. And I don't blame him. but sometimes a little goes a long way in regard to mistakes and learning.
Nice.
All right, and here we are setting the final rafter, and what a relief it was. While we did a lot of hoisting with the straps and the come-alongs, of course, we did a ton of heavy lifting, and the video didn't capture the bruises on the shoulders and the elbows and splinters in my back and a lot of fun stuff. But anyway, it was great to get the bones and the skeleton assembled and turn the page.